I'm very sorry if I'm reading my advocacy speech right now. Here it is. Human rights are the rights that belong to each and every single person intentionally. These rights had been created in the past centuries like in the first civilization of ancient Greece and has evolved into the rights we have currently. Each group of people had to fight for these rights that every person supposedly has. Throughout history, group after group is discriminated against even though people fight for equality. Though there are many different categories of human rights. The three types of human rights are the right to equality, marriage, and expression based on the social rights. Human rights were very essential to us. It is everyone's right. Especially in today's time, we really need to apply it. Many people try to take advantage from others to gain more rights and respect themselves. In every action, we've always done accomplishing gaining our rights. We are working and doing what we want every day with freedom. Human rights also refers to live in our different aspects. Everyone must be irrespective on anyone's nationality, race, religion, language, etc. Human rights are critically needed right now to achieve a better world and a better place. According to my research, human right means Wikipedia says that human rights are applicable everywhere and at every time, in the sense of being universal, and they are egalitarian in the sense of being the same of everyone. They are regarded as requiring empathy and the rule of law and imposing an obligation on persons to respect the human rights of others. And it generally considered that they should not taken away expect as a result of due process based on specific circumstances. For example, human rights may include and freedom from unlawful imprisonment, torture, and execution. Human rights, specifically speaking, when the world starts conversing about this, many people's mouths are shut. All of them are scared to speak out the truth. They were full of fear in themselves. They should speak out the truth because it is their freedom of speech. According to India Celebrating.com, these are every human rights everyone should have. Every individual has the inherent right to live. Every human being has the right of not being killed by another person. Every person has the right to fair trial by an impartial court. This includes the right to be heard within a reasonable time, right to public hearing, and the right to counsel. Every person has the freedom of thought and conscience. He or she also has the freedom to choose his or her religion and is also free to change it at any time. Slavery and slave trade is prohibited. However, these are still practiced illegally in some parts of the world. Torture is prohibited under the international law. Every person has freedom from torture. Other universal human rights include right to liberty and personal security, freedom of speech, right to remedy by competent tribunal, freedom from discrimination, right to nationality and freedom to change it, right to marriage and family, freedom of movement, right to own property, right to education, right to peaceful assembly and association, right from interference with privacy, family, home and correspondence, right to participate in government and in free elections, right of opinion and information, right to adequate living standard, right to social security, and right to social order that articulates this document. But in some cases, human rights was being violated on many ways and by many personalities. Right now, I think that the main violator of human rights is the government, especially in the Philippines. Philippine President was trying to annihilate the Commission on Human Rights. CHR is a sector or organization in Philippines who is responsible for the investigation of all forms of human rights violation involving civil and political rights in the Philippines. That's why President Duterte doesn't want CHR to exist. When President officially started his war on drugs, or also called as Oplantokhang, increasing rate of death were reported. As of January 2019, 12,000 claimed death as Oplantokhang starts. 5,014 of it were drug personalities, 54 were children, and the rest are just suspected as drug-related persons, killed with injustice. This is just one example of human rights violation. Many people died having no chance of defending their sides. I guess no one must be killed just because he committed to make a mistake. Everyone should have their second chances to renew themselves. No man has his or self to take lives of others. All individuals are allowed to certain basic right in every part of the world, without consideration of the circumstances. Nobody has fairly or righteously empowered to take away these basic rights from ordinary citizens of particular country. The human rights are of different types of rights like political rights and civil liberty rights. According to John F. Kennedy, the rights of man are diminished when the rights of one man are threatened. It is said that every human has interconnected with other human. John F. Kennedy is the 35th President of the USA and also supporting the work for human rights. This is the citation of ECTRIP.com related to the current situation of Philippine human rights. Today, the world experiences numerous changes and it corresponds to increased public attention on human rights. The spread of democracy across the globe explains this latest occurrence, and countries like Philippines are making broader attempt to ensure access and protection of human rights. This noticeable in reproductive health rights where many Filipino people have welcomed changes in this sector. Following the legislation of the Reproductive Health Law of 2012, it is apparent that the country has made tremendous steps in guaranteeing in population access to sexual education, maternal care, contraceptives, and fertility control reproductive services. Even though access to reproductive health services became a fundamental human right in the Philippines, apparently, controversy surrounds the role of government and private companies in distributing reproductive health services. According to the transcript provided, it appears that violation of human rights is a common occurrence in Philippines. And this is demonstrated by the proliferation of advocacy groups and organizations that criticize violation of human rights by the government. In the country, women are the worst victims of reproductive health rights violation, and advocacy groups are closely working with urban poor women, women in rural areas, and female-oriented youth organizations, women from the indigenous community, and indigenous people. The stakeholders deal with various issues related to women's rights such as violence against women, child labor, sexual reproductive health, and women's certification. In order to realize their objectives simultaneously, advocacy groups implement their core programs. Sustainability, networking, local and national outreach are examples of programs initiated by various organizations. The impact that such organizations have on community and the society is immeasurable. This is because an increased interrelationship between their pursued objectives makes it problematic to distinguish their activities from other community service activities. Advocacy and promotion of human rights in the Philippines began many decades ago, when women organizations such as EDSA and Gabriela employed varied approaches in realizing a common objective. The radical nature of Gabriela organization is explained by the increased violation of women's rights that characterized society at this time. This coalition of Filipino women confronted the government and employed violence to communicate their intended message. However, advocacy groups today have adopted diplomatic approaches to achieve their goals of protecting and safeguarding human rights, particularly the rights of women in the Philippines. Organizations like DSWP are part of the democratic family and do not agree on struggling against the state. They associate radicalism with politically inclined motives, and these organizations are government agents that need to sustain the status quo. Increased decline of radical organizations such as Gabriela has led to consolidation of the social pre-existing organization. For instance, DSWP grew grew after the collapse of Gabriela, but continued to work with Gabriela under a collaborative framework to achieve their objectives. The consequence of conducting such analysis are the significance in exposing the state of human rights in various countries around the world. Moreover, it is important in illustrating the differences between nations in terms of human rights violation and identifying the various areas of human rights that are consistently violated in today's society. In doing so, the transcript demonstrates reproductive health rights, debates characterizing modern society, and identifies how advocacy groups and organizations struggle to ensure respect for human rights. At a time when human rights violations remain widespread, the discourse of human rights continues to flourish. I suggest that all of us must start the changes in ourselves, self-respect, the primary solution of goodness of a person. I believe that if you start respecting yourself first, you will apply it when you are with others. You will treat yourself in the way that you treat the people around you. I know human rights total implementation and accomplishment will soon be experienced. We must act now as one, spread local and worldwide study of moral values. Thanks to all of you and God bless us all.